Good morning, colleagues. I am Dr. Zamokuhle Mbandlwa. I am a researcher and a lecturer in South Africa at the Durban University of Technology. It is an honor and a privilege to be part of this international conference, All World Muslim Educational Conference of 2022. I will be presenting a very short presentation to you. However, I think it will have an impact to each and every one of you. My topic is based on what I have observed and what I've researched about in South Africa. It's about resources and power abuse by the South African government, political leaders, and the public servants. So this is my introduction. I'm saying South Africa has been characterized as a corrupt country, and the corruption has been attached to few names. So in other words, we cannot, and no one can rightfully say the country is corrupt. But what is corrupt is a few individuals who are involved in corrupt activities, which then become that most people just assume that the country is corrupt. I think the problem that South Africa is currently facing is not only unique or peculiar to South Africa, but also other countries are also facing the same challenges. Now, the corruption is perceived as Black-dominated and government officials in general and the ruling party in particular. Yes, what normally happens is that when a political party is in government, it is highly possible that it will remain the focus of many activities, and people just assume that other political parties who are not in government are not corrupt, particularly because they are not in government and they do not have an obligation to take care of the public resources. So then that alone tells us that any political party in government is exposed to corrupt activities because of certain individuals who want to enrich themselves at the expense of the general population. This article is presenting an objective view of how the abuse of power and resources emanate from. The previous regime was regarded as the most corrupt leadership in South Africa, and there was a high level of resources abuse. When I'm saying the previous regime, I'm talking about the previous leadership, because we have different administrations in South Africa based on the electoral mandate whereby people vote. So every after 5 years, we always have a new regime or a regime change. The main factor that contributes in the abuse of power by politicians in South Africa is caused by the economic condition. So in other words, the poverty trends are actually the main reason why when people are given a leadership responsibility and they are exposed to resources, they want to enrich themselves, they want to live a good life at the expense of the general population. Historically, Black people in South Africa has been oppressed in various facets. Now, let's move to the objectives of this particular study. The objectives of this study are to create an awareness of the causes of the abuse of power and resources in the government of South Africa. Secondly, is to link the economic conditions of the country with the behavior of government employees and political leaders. Subsequently, the system itself must stop to abuse the resources which are causing more problems, not for few individuals, but for the general population. The resources are created by people, and the people can also bypass. The systems are created by the people, and they can bypass the system. So now people understand the policies that exist. They understand how to bypass such policies. They know exactly what they need to do in order for them to be protected against any prosecution. Nevertheless, the South African government has not done so well in the consequence management. So those who are suspected to be corrupt are not brought to book, and those who are clean are also affected by those who are corrupt, because if people are doing wrong things and no action is taken against them, those who are doing right things will not see a need for them to do right things, because those who are doing wrong things are benefiting in the system. So it then creates a problem amongst the employees and the political leaders themselves. The purpose of this study is to have a look at the economy of the country, which then controlled by the white-owned companies in majority. So in South Africa, we have something called the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, and most of those companies that are listed in the Johannesburg Stock Exchange are owned by white people. Those companies that are owned by black people is just a fronting. If you look at the real shareholders, or if you look at the real owners of those companies, you'd find out that the majority are white, and some of them are not even in South Africa. The government is controlled by black-dominated political party, which only have political power to take decisions, but not to have economic power. So South Africa is a democratic state, but the political parties are fighting amongst themselves for the crumbs or for the change that is provided by the economic system that is benefiting only a few, and particularly the white population. Therefore, the majority of black people are using their political power or positions to extract resources from government. So the political power then give power to those who are in the leadership positions, and those who are in the leadership positions are using their positions to access resources from the government and to abuse their power at the expense of the people. The economic system itself in South Africa is favoring the rich and do not uplift the poor. This is supported by the recent report that indicated that South Africa is the most unequal society globally. Now, this particular study have applied a secondary research methodology because the information was easily available and the information was relevant based on the articles that I've read, based on the newspaper report that has been made, the online or internet reporting that I've read, shows that there is a problem in the society and something needs to be done. Now, in a nutshell, the secondary research includes research material published in research report and similar documents. These documents can be made available by public libraries, websites, data obtained from already filled in surveys, etc. Some government and non-government agencies also store data that can be used for research purposes and can be retrieved from them. Secondary research is much more cost-effective than primary research. It makes use of already existing data, unlike primary research where data is collected first-hand and by organizations or businesses, or they can employ a third party to collect data on their behalf. So based on this study have employed the secondary research methodology, or a secondary research data collection method to collect the data. Now, in conclusion, the study finds that the abuse is huge and something needs to be done. However, those who are involved in the abuse of public resources cannot be the ones who come with a solution to the existing problems. So the community at large need to work together and find a solution to deal with this particular issue. This study suggests that the abuse of resources cannot be stopped by systems. Hence, the country has the best control measures to stop the abuse of resources. The country needs to address the root cause of the problem and not the symptoms. Now, the system itself is problematic and something must be done to address this issue of a flawed system, which then creates a situation where the rich become more richer, the poor become more poor. I thank you.